I have officially completed Sonic X Shadow Generations, and I have way more thoughts than I think I've ever had about a Sonic game that I don't even know if I can finish it and explain it all in like 30 minutes, but I'm gonna try my absolute best. I want to first start by being a little controversial, where it's like Shadow Generation specifically is, I think, the greatest Sonic game ever created, where Sonic Generations, the re-release, was kind of right in the eyes of reviewers who gave it a 6 out of 10. Let me explain. Let me get there. I'm gonna first start by showing everything from Shadow Generations, and then we're gonna talk about Sonic Generations. I was able to go pick up this game live physically with one of my best friends, shoutouts to Red Rose Liz, and upon the box, I was so happy to see that I got myself Professor Gerald Robotnik's Diary. I was able to get the skins that I pre-ordered for Sonic Jam and the Dreamcast Sonic. But then upon putting in the game, you still got advertisements about getting digital versions so that you can get the Terrio skin, which is like a digital deluxe exclusive, but then when you click it to upgrade, it's like $79.99 because you have to rebuy the game. This is just something in general that has nothing to do with Shadow Generations. It just sucks that it's becoming the norm because physical media is dying. Which another reason I'm very happy I got this game physically and did not get to experience Terrios. Even though Sega sent me a review copy on both Epic Games and on Steam before the game even came out. Upon booting up the game, though, you are met with probably the most amazing soundtracks of all time. Just this menu that is like, okay, do you want to play Sonic Generations or do you want to play Shadow Generations? Let's be honest, you're supposed to start with Shadow Generations. Just the way that that menu is presented to you with the Shadow music, you should be starting with Shadow Generations. The UI, by the way, of this menu is literally just ripped from Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury. Like, it's literally the same thing, you know, but I don't blame them for taking it. I think it works really well. What doesn't work, however, is swapping between games. It's really weird, but this game is 2 games put together. So if you're gonna run Shadow Generations, the game doesn't have to reload or anything like that. But when you boot up Sonic Generations, the game actually shuts down and opens up an entire new file. So they put 2 games on one disc that the game has to manually close and reopen again. It's really weird. So it just shows that the game wasn't really built up. It was just kind of thrown in there. And I feel like when we do get to Sonic Generations to talk about it, you're gonna see more that Shadow Generations should have and probably was its own game, but to make sure it sells, they have to have Sonic included in a big way, and they're like, okay, well, let's just re-release one of the best Sonic games ever made. And honestly, I think it hindered everything. That's just my personal opinion, but we'll get down to it. Let's focus on Shadow Generations, okay? Because again, oh my god, guys. Like, the first thing I think I want to talk about is the damn presentation, the way that you're thrown into this right away, this amazing opening cutscene, and you kind of have to follow the epilogue before this game even starts. But the way that you're just kind of thrown in and continuing off where that epilogue kind of resumes. But the very first stage, starting on the arc, which is very much Final Chase, Final Rush, and the arc from Shadow the Hedgehog, all included into one. Just right away, you feel how smooth it is to control Shadow. Sonic has never felt good in a platforming space in 3D since Sonic Adventure 2. I will say that comfortably. It just feels like crap all the fucking time. So this was the first time where, like, if you're jumping on something or somewhere, you are jumping somewhere on something how you want to, and it feels great. The double jump, the movement, walking speed to run speed is a little bit stiff, but just everything else, once you're moving, you just have so much control, and I think this is, like, I think they nailed it. I really think the controls of this game, just how Shadow feels, and even manipulating it, you can change the controls to how you want it to be like original Generations, or using the Sonic Frontiers engine and layout of buttons, and you can even customize it to be your very own, is very cool. So once you get past, I think, the first section of the very first level, it's dialogue and just this cinematic cutscene, guys, that just takes you on to a whole other world. Like, I literally thought we were gonna start getting into, like, this Sonic 3 and Knuckles world where you're playing from level to level to level to level without any breaks. There's no loading or anything like that, but you're kind of teased with Radical Highway in all these levels, which I found weird at first, but it just makes sense, right? Sonic Generations, the whole purpose of this Time Eater is manipulating time and memory and everything. So it just was so cool. And then you got Black Doom that comes out of nowhere, is like, we're back, bitch! Which I love him so much because not only is his voice just as good as Shadow the Hedgehog, but I love how he just is complimenting Shadow. Like, I'm serious when I say complimenting. Like, you will hit Black Doom in the face, and this bitch is like, well done, Shadow. Like, keep at it, boy. And it's like, what the fuck? You're like a literal psychopath, but he wants you to be at your best so he can take you back. And we find out, of course, that Shadow's DNA does contain Black Doom. And, you know, Black Doom really wants to control Shadow body and mind, and that's what this is all about. So if he's at his best, that's the best time to do it. And with this DNA and with everything going on, now that Black Doom's back, Shadow is coming to his senses and feeling this part of him he's never really felt before. So he's unlocking these new powers that are definitely from that, basically like genetic mutation coming from the way he was formed as the ultimate life form. You end up unlocking different powers, like power-ups like Sonic Adventure, you know, getting whatever, the light speed dash, something like that. But for Shadow, he gets literal moves that just completely benefit the entirety of Shadow's game plan. From getting the Doom Spear, which allows you to use Chaos Spear, but for multiple targets at once. You got Doom Blast, which allows you to take out these Black Arm enemies and to Chaos Control onto them and comboing them. It's so sick, dude. It feels so satisfying. Woo! It feels so sick. It's so satisfying. I don't even know how to explain it. Then you even unlock like Doom Surf, which allows you to surf on like a Doom Black Arms Mantis. So a non-armed Black Man. And then you have Doom Morph, which at first was my least favorite, and we're gonna talk about those controls in a bit, but Doom Morph, you kind of turn into this Splatoon game for a little bit and get to swing to targets and kind of zoom across this Black Doom muck, I guess you want to call it, and to help you get to where you need to. It's very different and definitely mixes up the pace, and I think kind of refreshes that dopamine you get from playing this game time to time again. Lastly, the very much teased Doom Wing, where Shadow literally gets wings and is able to glide like Knuckles. So not really flying, but slowly decreasing in height and speed, and you kind of unlock Super Shadow in this form. It's really the replacement where when you are in this Doom Wing mode, you are in full out Super Shadow mode. You are completely invincible unless squished or die or fall off the edge. But your rings do deplete, so it's important to just keep your ring count. Even your boost gauge does refresh every time you do land. So it's kind of crazy. So what's included in Shadow Generations? Let's start with that, okay? I feel like I've said started so long and we're already probably halfway, but you get yourselves 5 zones, apparently a bonus level coming, which is not included. Like, I got the whole, like, you're gonna get 1 level included that's a bonus, but everybody from what I've seen has the same levels, so I don't know if that's bogus. We are having a confirmation of a Sonic Movie 3 DLC with Keanu Reeves coming on later in the year. So maybe we're gonna get like a Movie 3 level inspired. That's gonna be really, really cool. But chances are you're gonna buy it anyway, so having it included, like, whatever, good for you. I'm excited. So from the arc, you get Rail Canyon from Sonic Heroes, Kingdom Valley from Sonic 06, which is by far the best level in Sonic history. The way that it is designed, like, fuck! You got Sunset Heights from Sonic Forces. Guys, I was so freaking nervous to play this level because you know I am Sonic Forces' biggest hater in the world, but they did such a good job at just taking the linear level that it is and creating alternate paths and ways to just interact with the environment and adding cinematic cutscenes. Like, I feel like I'm just in the early 2000s Marvel movies, bro. It's just beautiful. It's just actually beautiful. I'm having a breakdown already. It's just, I can't believe it, guys. I just can't believe they did it. Then you go on to Chaos Island from Sonic Frontiers, which is my favorite Sonic game of all time. And let me tell you about this music, okay, guys? They took Chaos Island, a music that I very respectfully love, and cranked it up to 1,000 to make it the second coming of Britney Spears. I literally cannot stop listening to this song. It's been on repeat since I got the game. It's been about a month now. I am obsessed with this level. Here's a little listen. What I love about it is just they have this dubstep beginning to kind of correlate with the Sonic Frontiers cyberspace vibe, which is normal, but they tease a little bit of that piano drop, right, every so often, and then finally this built-up frustration from wanting to hear the full piano hits you like a truck, and it's so good the way it drops. Please listen to it.
All right.
Speaking of music, you can change every piece of music that plays on every stage. So if you're not a fan of anything, you can change it to any Sonic music you like. If you want to play it as Sonic Lost World, Wonder World, you definitely could. I don't know who the fuck would do that.
The time has come, Shadow.
Agreed. Time to sever this bond between us forever.
Or you could be like me and play Chaos Island Act 1 song over and over and over again. The graphics are next level. We have not seen nice graphics in a Sonic game since Sonic Unleashed. I think we've all kind of agreed on that. This is the first time since then where Shadow and every character in this game, Maria looks perfect. I feel like if Sonic has to interact with a world, humans, this is how the humans should look. I think that it just works, having that cartoony feel. Shadow's personality, the way that his eyebrows move when he talks, how he's so exaggerated in expression, and the quills move, and the fur on him, everything just looks so fucking good. The lighting, the textures, the level designs, like, oh my god, guys, everything is so vibrant and well thought out. It is a masterpiece in terms of graphical design. It is beautiful. Wish I could say the same thing about Sonic Generations. We're gonna get there. Even though there's great graphics, it's still using the Frontiers engine. And that means there's gonna be the one thing that everyone didn't like returning, which is pop-ins. There's a lot less. Obviously, you're not climbing huge towers unless it is Chaos Island, and you can at least still see these giant pillars you have to climb. But the collectibles themselves, there's chests and rocket pieces that you have to do for one of the challenges, and you cannot see them if you are far away. They do literally not spawn. There's no vista work. There's none of that in front of you. The vectors are just not there. There is no blur or anything to indicate you that something is there. And what's worse is the UI. The map, guys, is absolutely horrendous. Sonic Frontiers, I think, did a fantastic job at showing you where every little bit of collectibles are that you should be checking out, and it's just not like that on Shadow. It shows you an indicator of where you're facing and where your camera is facing, which is nice, but there's no idea as to where every chest piece is, where is all of the rocket parts. Nothing is there to show you anything. So if you thought you've collected something, you're like, okay, I got this piece. Let's say you're following a guide on YouTube. You probably actually should be checking it, because when you get closer, it suddenly spawns. There is those pop-in issues. I've tested the Xbox version, the PC version, and of course the Epic Games PC version again, and it's all the same issue. I've seen people on PlayStation 5 still have pop-ins. So that's still an issue that they need to address before doing the next mainline Sonic game, or specifically if they are going to even do Frontiers 2. That's the big rumor right now, that they are wanting to do that. To be clear, we have not really had a focus on Shadow the Hedgehog on his own story since really Sonic 06. It's been that long. We had that one episode in Forces. I'm not counting it. That shit was like wet farts. But specifically, like, it's been almost 20 years now. That's insane. So to have all these questions we've had about Shadow, post Shadow the Hedgehog, Sonic 06, and it's finally answered. Maria, what actually happened? What illness did she have? How did Gerald feel? And everything is in his diary. And let me tell you guys, his diary, it is incredibly detailed. It's not like a 3-page pop-up book of pictures and shit you get with limited editions, but you legitimately get just his full diary of how Shadow was developed, the problems going into it, making a deal with the Black Doom army, where you can see where he gets completely infiltrated by GUN, and where he ends up being locked up and how he's writing and how he's feeling about it. It's insane. Like, I couldn't believe how dark it got and how amazing it was to read that book. Like, if you do have the pre-order, if you did get the Gerald journal, please read it. There is a digital version as well that does come with your copy if you are a digital babe that is not like me. The bosses are all phenomenal. You can play them over and over and over again. You're not sick of them. There's such a challenge to them as well. And you're rewarded for those challenges. If you want to get an S rank and you're like, damn, I was 20 seconds too late. How the hell am I supposed to do this faster? Chances are you got to do a certain technique in the game to unlock an exclusive cutscene that will skip an entire part of that boss, Metal Overlord, and it will get you that S rank, and you feel so fucking satisfied when you do it. It's all planned out. There is so much action, so much love put into every single boss. BioLizard looks incredible in 2024 standards. Metal Overlord, it's so good to see him back. Metal Sonic at his prime, basically. Mephiles is the biggest one for me, just because I knew he was back, but when you get to the part of like, oh my god, I just want to exist, and Shadow says there's no future for you, and he has no idea who the fuck this guy is, but he's willing to kill him anyway and put him back in that cipher. It's so raw, so dark. Even versus Metal Overlord, where Shadow literally calls him an idiot for thinking he's the ultimate life form. So like God, it's such a dark but not cringe storytelling process. The writing in this game is so damn good. Even versus the BioLizard, where Shadow opens up by saying, like, you poor creature, let me put you out of your misery. Of course, BioLizard being the failed experiment to being the ultimate life form. So it's just, they just thought of everything. And then finally, of course, fighting Devil Doom over again, but getting a final section to it, kind of Kirby mode of Neo Devil Doom, where you're gliding through this way of just needing to get rid of him and needing to skip certain parts if you do want to get that S rank. And it's like, damn, man, they really did think of everything. There is hard mode as well to not only all of the levels, but all of the bosses, and they do change up quite a bit. It's not like Sonic Generations at all, where you're just really replaying the bosses. They completely turn up as to how they're hitting you, what they're hitting you with, even adding new objects and environments to interact with, and a new cutscenes. It's insane. They really gave everything they could into this game, and if it's to prepare for whatever else in the future, I am so fucking for it, because they are on that right pedal, man. They are just flooring, and I am on that ride with them. Even the gate keys. Now, gate keys do return from Sonic Generations. It is a Generations game where after you do complete a level, if you want to interact with a boss, you have to get these 2 gate keys, right? You're going to go do challenges. In Sonic Generations, we knew there was a lot of them. We're going to get to it. But Shadow Generations does a phenomenal job at just creating such fun and short challenges that don't take up too much of your time and that are relatively easy to get S ranks, and you really could replay them over and over again if you wish to. They're so easy and really, really fun, and just sometimes they're chaos control manages, which, by the way, Shadow has access to chaos control, so just thought I'd let you know. From right away in the beginning, he has that yellow chaos emerald and is able to use chaos control if he does build up a lot of energy from taking out his enemies. He freezes for 3 seconds, and it is very addicting to use, and it will even be the reason why you need to get S ranks. So you gotta spam that shit, and at the right time, you'll even find alternate paths where you can chaos control to different parts of the level to find alternate routes. It's insane, bro! My favorite parts of some of these levels were actually the 2D sections. The 2D in this game, it just felt so natural. It felt better than fucking Sonic Superstars, and I'm gonna go to say that. It felt so natural to just go through these 2D areas. He flows so well. The level design, the controls, I'm so fucking happy, guys. This would have been a 10 out of 10 game if it weren't for certain little parts. One being, I mean, we talked about the little pop-ins. That's barely anything. I would take off like a 0.1 for that shit. But really what bothered me here does come down to the completion process of this game specifically. Part of the completion process obviously is getting S rank on everything, including the heart mode. Heart mode, really not that bad. Very challenging to do these side challenges that are in the hub world, where you have to kind of chase a timer or before the time even runs out, or you gotta collect as many rings as possible before the timer runs out. Same thing with the gate keys. those challenges, very fun. Sega had a lot of fun making those and making us suffer, but in the best way possible. You feel like when you lose, it's not a cheap way, it's really you lose because it's your fault. But what did suck for me personally was collecting all the chess pieces and the rocket parts. It really felt such a tedious job because I didn't know where to go, and I hate needing to look up a guide just to see where I'm going and running around in a little space for so long that's actually way larger than it looks. This hub world, guys, is massive. It's not like Sonic Generations going 2D from one end to the other. It is a giant 3D Sonic Frontiers looking island. It is massive to explore. So it's quite the task to look for everything there, and I wish there was indicators to be like, hey, there's something here, or having an item finder skill or something to just be like, hey, there's something near here. Even finding like Jero Robotnik's diary pieces, right? There's always these like this balloon going around. I actually had a glitch on my Steam version where it just stopped spawning, and I ended up having them all, but I had my achievement locked and it just isn't going to unlock. I had to force itself to unlock using like a third-party app, which really sucks because I don't want to do that. These chess pieces and rocket parts are literally in the most obscene place you wouldn't think of exploring. Some of them are very much like, I'm in the corner, hee hee, you can't find me, but some of them are really, really hiding, and you could take hours just to get to them, and it's very frustrating. It really takes you away from the game. Now I want to talk about the Doom Morph specifically. Now, when this first came into my peripheral vision, I was like, okay, this is cool, and then you try it and you're like, wait, this sucks. The controls feel so off in terms of where you want to target, where do you want to go. Sometimes you just fall out the way it swings you, and then you learn that when you're under it, you can bump up, but the game doesn't do a good job at teaching it to you. Now it's my favorite power-up. I love it. I can't believe how much I love the Doom Morph. If I recorded this 2 weeks ago, I would have said like, bro, this is like a horrible thing. It ruins the entire level experience. No, it actually is very, very great and actually helps you and rewards you by mastering it. But the game doesn't teach it to you. So you can really be kind of pushed away from this concept and this entire element of the game if you're not being shown what to do. From right away, your first challenge is to swing, but if you don't know the hold on, you're really just gonna fly right through something and die. There were so many times where I kind of was like, okay, it's a homing attack, but it's not. You're just falling and then you die. I've died multiple times. And then when you try to swing, when you shouldn't swing, but you should go underneath the ball to pop yourself upwards on the opposite. It's like, okay. But then you start to really learn that, oh, wherever I tend to hold X, I will pop out on the opposite end. And you're like, oh, now it makes sense. Other games, right? Or even the first ever Sonic game, Green Hill Zone, teaches you everything you need to know without even trying by simply playing the first level. From loop-de-loops to badniks to collecting rings and being rewarded at the very end of the stage and building momentum up and down a slope. You know everything you need to know about this game right here and there. But I feel like Shadow Generations doesn't do a great job at teaching you how to use specifically the Doom Morph, and it really made me frustrated during the entire last leg of the game, and especially going for the 100% and using the Doom Morph challenges. Only afterwards, as I played 3 separate versions to complete, I'm like, oh, I love this now, but it really takes a long time, and I know not many people are gonna play that 3 times like me. I have 3 achievements that are completely locked, and I'm not sure if it's because I have a review copy. If someone else in the comment can confirm, my game is stuck. I have all of the rocket parts, and I even did Sonic Generations final boss without taking any damage, and I did not unlock anything. Same thing with my chess pieces. It's I'm pretty frustrated about that. I'm not really sure what happened, and I have to now go find like a third-party act to unlock my other stuff. So it's a little frustrating on that end. I'm hoping there's gonna be maybe a patch that fixes that. I know it's not the first time Sonic games on PC tend to have issues with Steam or Epic Games. It could even be just the Epic Games, but I have 2 separate achievements locked on my 2 separate versions. So I think it might be a universal thing. As a completionist, it's unforgivable, in my opinion. So that knocks out a point for me there. But putting it off on a good note, when you do beat the game and you have access to the full potential that is Shadow, right? You have these wings. You can actually go back to every single freaking level, but play it in the wing mode, where you unlock the wings and you find all of a sudden crazy paths or crazy skips that only speedrunners would dream of and think of doing, and it is the most satisfying thing, and it feels like all these levels were made for Doom Wing Shadow. It is insane how these levels are already perfect, but crank it up to a 20 out of 10 when you are using the wings. It makes the level so much fun, and getting the S ranks becomes so much easier just using it, and you needing to do this all with every level is just so infectious. I am going to be playing Shadow Generations over and over and over and over again, 100%. I'm actually starting my Xbox version right after this, and I'm pretty excited about it. I wish I could say the same thing about Sonic Generations. Upon booting Sonic Generations up, when you do load up that file, it is essentially the same game. So I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it. But I want to bring up major issues and good parts that I really love. Because at the end of the day, this is Sonic Generations. It's a great game and was a huge comeback and celebration of the 20 years for Sonic the Hedgehog. But we know the potential this game had that it did not reach. And we know it has now that opportunity, such as being the hub world for Sonic games and Sonic levels that could be remade in this generation style for both 3D and 2D Sonic. 2D Sonic had quite the makeover for his look, his longer quills in the back, a little bit of a saturation change, and if you do pre-order the game, I personally played as Dreamcast Sonic because I feel like that's the best look and color for Sonic, and of course Sonic Jam Sonic, which is also one of my favorite looks for Sonic, compared to especially the classic Sonic in Generations. I think is just a fucking mess. So it's a great game. That's Sonic Generations. But that's it. If you own Sonic Generations and you are not interested in Shadow at all, you're not going to be happy and you're going to want to stick to your game because nothing has really changed. The frame rate is a lot better. 60 frames, not once was I dropping. I had one day where I was having some PC issues, but that's on me, not the game. What I was majorly disappointed was really though the graphics. I mean, we just started playing Shadow Generations, which was this mind-blowing experience, even including at a time Sonic in one of the scenes when he passed the city escape, and they redid that entire cutscene to be this 2024 version of Sonic kicking Shadow's butt, and I thought that was going to be the experience I had going into Sonic Generations. If it's a remastered port, whatever, it should be up to the same quality, and it just wasn't. Sonic Generations is as bland as ever in terms of its texture, its hub world, right? Nothing is different at all. All of the challenges are the exact same, which is my most disappointing part of this review, because the challenges are not fun. It's as simple as that. Anything to do with Sonic's friends makes you want to fucking kill yourself. Son of a Some are nearly impossible to beat unless you're just no longer a human being. And I got S ranks on every single one of them. I lost my sanity by the end.
Sonic! Here goes. Leave it to me. Here goes.
I'm still recovering. They added drop dash for modern Sonic, which is the most useless thing I've ever seen. There's no spin dash and you have boost, so I don't get it. And it doesn't work great either because it's like the controls in Generations, if you remember, Sonic is very stiff when he's platforming. Same thing for 2D Sonic in that game. There's no momentum or anything. It's really just so linear when he jumps. It feels horrible. It's very in one place. So platforming in this game is just not fun compared to what you just came from. And then you feel like you have to hold the A button when you're jumping with Sonic just so he can go further or like go at a certain height. But when you hold the button, you activate drop dash. So there's been so many times I messed up and died because I'm holding the button. The next thing you know, I flew across the stage or whatever. I think 3D Sonic just shouldn't have had drop dash. I do like the addition though for classic Sonic. I think it worked well. They nerfed the spin dash just a little bit, and the homing attack for modern Sonic, the range is actually shorter. So I caught that. It's shorter. I compared it to the original. and it doesn't click as well, which is fine. You make things a little challenging, but for something that is, I'm so used to, you know, speed running in my own way, and a target that would have appeared before no longer appears, I'm like, oh, okay, it's a lot shorter. The Xbox glitch of not being able to reach the Chemical Plant Act 2 top of Vine and Zip Line that you weren't able to access did get fixed, so that's thank God. I mean, people can play the game again. Classic Sonic moves just a bit quicker underwater now. And I love what they did with the cutscenes. Every cutscene in this game has been reworked to adjusting to the new voice actors, new writing, and to make it less awkward compared to the other one, where if you unlock the character, Sonic would stay completely silent, but now he responds and has a genuine conversation with them that adds personality and a bond between each character. But they didn't end up like changing anything that should have been changed. I love that Amy is no longer this obsessed Sonic fangirl and is aggressive and whatever. She's just an amazing woman. I'm now an Amy fan. She really comes off as like this Sonic Frontiers kind of vibe, and that's my favorite Amy. But you also have the new Rouge voice actor, and she's been a problem. So do I really prefer the new voices? I also think that they should have just adjusted music. There's so many times where Sonic 4 music starts playing and I'm like, my fucking ears are bleeding. Please stop it. Thank God I can change every song in the game to every stage. Like, thank Jesus Christ. The last boss is still so busted. It just doesn't work well. It's not fun. The controls, I think, are worse. I found myself getting stuck in certain areas on the ground or on the side. I feel like I had no control of both Sonic and Classic Sonic, making my achievement to get the damn no damage even worse than it already was. Like, fuck, thanks. The electric shield for Classic Sonic still uses the jump sound instead of the actual electric sound at times. I was clipping through so many levels. The ghost challenges are still here. Like, why am I forced to play this level 4,000 times? And finally, the fucking Chow. It was so cute to see that the Chow were added in this game that we can go and find in each level. I don't mind doing that. But I like to be rewarded for it rather than just getting a fucking achievement for it. And the UI sucks in terms of red rings and finding these Chow. When you pause, you can't see which ring you're missing or whatever. You have to literally remember it. So if I want to find a guide as to where this red ring was or Chow is, I have no idea which one I'm missing. I'm just gonna have to check every single one. I don't get it. So for those who really were expecting a big upgrade for Generations, you're going to be disappointed. I'm very disappointed. And I see why some of the reviews gave it a 6 out of 10. Because if I start up the game and I'm playing Sonic Generations, I'm incredibly disappointed. It feels similar to Sonic Colors Ultimate with Sonic Colors, where it was literally just the same game, nothing really added, and even what was added was not great. And it felt the same way here. I feel like if we did not have the mask that is Shadow Generations, it would have been a horrible release, a horrible 5, 6 out of 10. But thank God we have Shadow Generations, the best controlled, looking, feeling, listening Sonic game of all time in 3D. So please get it just for that. And then play Sonic Generations on your own time. If you've never played Sonic Generations before ever, you're going to enjoy yourself. It's still a great game because it's Sonic Generations. But Shadow Generations is really where the gold mine is. Please play this game. That's my thoughts on Shadow Generations, X Sonic. I feel like he's the feature here. And I thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more. You can visit us on twitch.tv/SuperGirlKels if you want to see everything live, including our thoughts on these amazing games that are coming out. This was a gift from Sega, but all thoughts and opinions are my own, and I am not told to say anything for them, except that this game is out and it goes on sale soon because the holidays here and that's when Sonic goes on sale. So you better fucking put that on your wish list on whatever console you're on: Xbox, PlayStation 5, Epic Games, or Steam, and Nintendo Switch. Thank you guys again. I'll see you next week for a video and on Twitch when we're live on the weekday basis. See ya. Bye.